今季 MVP 最有力とされているエンゼルスの大谷翔平が、レプリカユニフォームの売り上げで今年1位の栄誉に輝きました。大リーグ機構によりますと、販売総額や枚数などは明らかになっていませんが、日本選手のユニフォームが売り上げトップになるのは初めてだということです。2位は40本塁打&70盗塁を記録したブレーブスのアクーニャジュニア、3位はヤンキースのジャッジでした。7月に発表された今年前半の売り上げでは、1位がブレーブスのアクーニャ外野手、2位が大谷となっており、最終的に大谷が逆転しトップに躍り出ました。投打の二刀流で活躍した大谷は手術を受けた右肘の影響などによりシーズン終了前に残り試合の欠場が決まりましたが、44本で日本人大リーガー初の本塁打王が確実。2年ぶりの最優秀選手 MVP 受賞も有力視されています。MLB は発表文で大谷を
畏敬の念を抱かせるようなパフォーマンスで世界中のファンに感動を与え続けた
と評しています。日本のファンが売り上げに貢献しているのは確かですが、今や大谷人気は全米だけでなく、中南米にも広がっています。ブルワーズなどで活躍したドミニカ共和国出身のカルロス・ゴメス氏は今年の WBC 時に、
今、ドミニカは二刀流の子供たちが本当に増えているんだ。テレビでも大谷の特集をしているし、大谷のジャージを着た子供たちがいっぱいいる。彼の影響力はとてつもなくすごい。
と語っていました。そのメジャーの顔が9月、10月にプレーできないのは寂しい限りですが、そんな中、MLB ネットワークの番組、MLB セントラルでは、
MLB 史上9月を欠場して MVP を獲得した選手は過去に一人もいない。
という内容で、大谷の MVP 獲得の可能性について議論していましたので、日本語字幕付きでご紹介していきます。
So we are giving out awards, and I feel like in our minds we've decided Shohei Ohtani is the AL MVP. Hasn't pitched in 2 months, hasn't hit in 1, and we have long had this discussion, Jason, about the definition of most valuable player. If you take Corey Seager off, the Rangers are much worse for the wear, right? What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I wrote about this in my awards column today in The Athletic, and look, I'm a little troubled that Shohei Ohtani basically missed the whole month of September. And the reason is nobody's ever done that and won the MVP. Mike Trout missed 19 games 4 years ago, the final 19. And that's the only precedent, the only one who's ever even missed the last full week. And so I tried to think it through. I mean, first of all, he had a ridiculous season. Like, he's one person, okay? He's one person. Chipper Jones, in his whole career, never had an OPS plus as great as Shohei Ohtani had this year, right? And this guy, in his spare time, was the greatest pitcher on his team and arguably a Cy Young candidate. So the credentials, that part's not an issue. I think there are two questions. Is there a difference between missing all those games in September versus missing a bunch of games?
April, yeah.
Right, in June,
I think so.
April. And look, if you saw what happened to the Angels in September, you'd say, yeah, that wasn't very convenient. But I went back and looked at this, and we've had MVPs who missed many more games than Shohei Ohtani. George Brett in 1980 only played 117 games. Lauren, he missed 45 games, right? But he missed them in June and July for the most part. Barry Bonds, 2003, only played 130 games. Shohei played 135, so that's one thing. I think the other question is, if not him, then who? And to me, that answer would be Corey Seager, right? But how many games has Corey Seager played?
Ooh,
he's played.
He missed time.
He missed 41 games, so he's actually missed more time than Shohei. I mean, here are the candidates.
When he came back, he was just carried them at times.
He's been awesome. Like, Julio has been awesome. Like, this is a really compelling group. Shohei had a 10-win season and basically missed the month of September. I just felt like in the end, he's the choice, but it's not as simple as it would have been if he'd actually played.
Sure, the offseason is going to be interesting for Shohei in terms.
また、アメリカのポッドキャスト番組ロックドーンエンジェルスでは、司会のマイク・フリッシュ氏とジョン・フリッシュ氏が、大谷がいなくなった後のエンゼルスについて言及し、大谷クローザー案についても議論していましたので、こちらも日本語字幕付きでご紹介していきます。
Mike, we got a great question from Charlie Hess on YouTube. He said, as much as I want Ohtani to stay, it would be best for the club if they moved on. Frees up the DH for resting players off the field or for other uses. Plus, we can go back to a 5-man rotation, then use Ohtani money to go after 2 starting pitchers, along with the pitchers we already have. What are your thoughts on moving Ohtani? So, kind of broke this question down into 3 parts. Let's talk about the DH spot, Mike. It does free up the DH spot. And it's been interesting to watch how the Angels have been using it since Ohtani has been done for the season. I mean, we've seen them take advantage of it with like Ohapi and Walsh and Moustakas. So Ohapi's bat is still in there, but he doesn't necessarily have to catch.
Yeah.
I think that honestly, if they had Trout and Rendon getting it more, especially with the issues they've had, I think that would be to their benefit. Now, DHing is not going to keep you from fracturing your tibia or your hamate bone,
right?
But it will prevent back issues
yeah.
and hip issues and wrist issues from throwing, things like that. I think they'll really benefit from the DH spot. What about the idea of a 5-man rotation?
I mean, the Angels could go back to that, but there are some teams that have actually moved to a 6-man rotation. Astros, Padres, just to name 2 of them. The Angels have the option right now to fill a 6-man rotation if they wanted to. They got Detmers, Sandoval, Silseth, Anderson, Canning, and maybe a potential free agent that could come in. And if they didn't want to do that, maybe Sam Bachman moves into the rotation as well. I mean, there's a lot, right? And I think that they have that option. Maybe they'll do the 5-man rotation next year if Ohtani does not re-sign, and then a 6th starter on days when they need one, like they did with Ohtani this year. It'll be interesting to see what they do there if, again, Ohtani does not come back.
Now, potentially spending his contract on other players. I mean, they would have the ability to sign more needed players with the money rather than Ohtani if he doesn't come back. 2 starting pitchers, I think, would be the most ideal. That might be a little bit hard to swing. A pitcher and a bat to match Ohtani's production might be another way to go. So they do have some options there. Now, here's my thoughts on a future without Ohtani. As much as I'd like to see him back, and I would like to see him back, I am just kind of curious about a potential fresh start for the Halos. And not that Ohtani had anything to do with them. Like, he wasn't holding them back, right? Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like more along the lines of just let these guys go out and play without the idea of like, oh, the Angels got to get Ohtani and Trout to the playoffs. And the Angels already blew that. They already blew that idea. Trout and Ohtani to the playoffs is not something that's going to happen with the Angels. And so maybe they can move forward and be pleasantly surprised with the young players they have and not try to make this playoff push. And I think the Angels have the chance to stop being something that they're not, which is what they think they've been, a perennial playoff team the last decade. And again, you and me, this offseason, our mantra, no expectations on this.
I'm not worried about it. Serenity now.
Serenity now. Like
Johnny,
go ahead.
Sorry. When I think about Ohtani, if he does resign, and I'm with you, I would love to have him back. I think that they have to have a really strong manager that can help navigate him being in this clubhouse because Mad Dog Russo, again, not a fan, but there's one of the things that he did say when he talked about Shohei Ohtani is that Ohtani has a A-Rod kind of vibe about him, not character-wise and not cheating and those types of things. But A-Rod was such a star that he kind of was in his own little world. And with Shohei, he is kind of in his own little world. Now, he is a great clubhouse guy. We've heard all the relationships. I don't think it's his fault. But I think that they need a Phil Jackson-like manager so that when Michael Jordan is in your clubhouse, you're able to manage him well, and you can get Michael Jordan to play with Dennis Rodman. And I think in the same instance, you need to figure out how you can have this once-in-a-lifetime superstar play with somebody like a Nolan Shawnuel or a Zach Neto or a Logan Ohapi, and it doesn't mess with the culture. It actually benefits the culture.
Definitely. Hey, Jacob Kirkup was wondering about if Ohtani transitions to a closer role in his career. Could they do that? Would the league's rule of the Ohtani rule still apply? Here's some things you need to consider if Ohtani is a closer. Shohei, I think, is going to come back and try to be a starter for sure. If in the later years he's thinking that closing is an option, I think that he could do it and he would do it well. But here's some things to consider. They will definitely, if there's a rule that needs to be changed, I'm sure they'll let him do it. But you got to factor in a couple of things. Is he going to have enough time to warm up? Yeah. Is he going to be hitting? Or is he going to be on base in the inning before he needs to close? Teams are going to need to pinch hit or pinch run for him so that he has time to go to the pen and warm up. And will the game make him too tired to close? Because I think starting a game pitching and hitting is different than it's a different kind of tiredness by the end of now he's been hitting and running the bases all day. And then he has to go and close. Yeah. I think that is going to be, those are just things that you got to consider if Ohtani is going to be a closer in the future.
Everything came together in the WBC for him to come out and close and Mike Trout at the plate. And that's because there is a God and he's real. And that's how it works out, right? There are baseball gods that made that work. And so, yeah, it would really have to work out to all of the benefits. And it would have to be just perfect timing for everything, right?
これからも大谷の活躍から目が離せません。皆様からのコメントもお待ちしております。